Alright guys, what is going on? My name's Sal, thank you for tuning in back to the channel. Today we're doing a Miata's buyer guide video just for you. Alright guys, if you're thinking about buying yourself a Miata, you're looking on Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, which are the best places to be looking, and you're gonna go test drive one possibly soon, this video is gonna help you guys see exactly what points you wanna look out for when you do buy your Miata. Okay, so this is a Miata specific video, so we're gonna overlook the check the oil, make sure there's no leaks, all that stuff. You guys know how to look for a car normally, I'm hoping. If not, you should probably bring someone along who is a little bit more car savvy, just to have a second pair of eyes. It's always a good thing, and make sure you're going during the day so you can check for rust, you can check for leaks, you're not struggling in the dark trying to see everything. Because personally myself, I have bought actually 90% of all the cars that I buy is at night when I can't see them, and in the morning when I go out there are new surprises that I didn't see previously, rather than if I had went during the day I would have seen them. Okay, so moving right into it, number one is going to be crank wobble. So this is when you start the car and you go and look at it while it's idling, and you'll see the crank pulley, which is at the very bottom. It's the biggest one, I believe, and I'll show you a clip here of what it's supposed to look like and what it's not supposed to look like. Crank wobble can show you a sign of whether or not the car has been romped on, or if it's just getting too old to the point where it needs a full rebuild, at least a bottom end rebuild in that case. It's been a while since I've looked into this, but you can tell by the slots in the pulleys, which will decipher whether or not it is a short nose or a long nose. I believe the one more susceptible to the crank wobble or crank walk is the long nose, in fact. Am I right? Am I wrong? Okay, we're right. No, we're wrong. So you're gonna wanna check for crank wobble, and I'll show you what that looks like right now. So you're gonna wanna start your car up, open up the hood, and your hood release is gonna be dead center of this, right here. We'll throw our prop rod up. All right, now everything's hot right here, but specifically right there on that crank pulley, if it moves a little bit too much, like right now ours moves, that's as much as it should move. This is exactly how your crank pulley should look. Now, if you start to hear a strange sound like that noise we just heard, that's called lifter tick. This isn't something to be too scared of, considering the fact that this car is non-interference, which means that the pistons and valves they're not gonna kiss basically if your timing is off. But lifter tick is nothing to be worried about. If it does in fact have lifter tick, you might be able to get a couple $100s off, but more than likely you won't, just because it is a common issue and it's not something that's problematic. So now the next thing we gotta look for is any rips in the top. One thing to note, this is not hard to fix. We actually did this twice on both of our Miatas. I'll leave a link for you right above in case you have a ripped top, so you guys can figure out whether or not you wanna tackle this job. If the car you're going to look at does have a ripped top, just know that you could probably do it on your own, and you could actually knock off a couple $100s from the asking price. Alright guys, so I guess we're not going to use any background music in this video today. We're going to move right along. On the note of the soft top, if it doesn't have leaks, you still want to check to see if the rain rails, which is inside that you can't see, it's inside the actual soft top. So when it's raining, the water comes from the top down below and it feeds off a rail that goes right down here. Now normally, if this car is a California car, it's not going to be covered in crap, resulting in pooling water, sitting water, and it's gonna get caught up in this body here. Unfortunately, it clogs up at the bottom, right up at this rocker panel, and that's where all your rust is gonna accumulate. So if you can, bring a magnet and just make sure that everywhere on this section either isn't bondoed or completely rotted. If the drain holes in the Miata are a little bit clogged up, it's a very easy fix, so don't have to worry about that. Only problem is if it got completely blocked, you don't want that water sitting in there. So our next step that we're going to be looking out for is a tweaked frame. Now this is fairly easy to see if you do have a soft top, and I'll show you what that looks like when we take off the hard top. Alright guys, so the easiest way to check to see if your frame is tweaked is going to be pulling up the soft top. Now it should go up fairly smooth just like that, and when you go to latch it, it should line up with the roof. Now, since we have the hard top, we never really use the soft top a lot. This results in the leather getting a little bit tighter, or the vinyl if you have an aftermarket top. So it's hard to stretch back over into place, but you should be able to see that you have a nice curve to the entire line of the A-frame basically. So because the Miata doesn't have a lot of problems, you're gonna wanna ask one question specifically. You don't worry about the spark plugs, wires, oil change, radiator flush, any of that stuff, because it's super cheap. You could actually do all the maintenance on this car for about $100. The one thing you do wanna know though is when was the water pump and timing belt changed. Now this is a little bit tedious of a job. So a timing belt and water pump job isn't the end of the world if it needs to be done. You can do it yourself because it's DIY friendly, it's fairly inexpensive, and there's a bunch of videos on YouTube. I think we actually have one on our channel. But Craig over at Car Passion Channel actually has a very good detailed video on how to do this job step by step. It's fairly easy. If you know your way around an oil change, you could... What the fuck was that?
The fuck is that?
If you know your way around a wrench, you could probably do this job on your own in a few hours. It's definitely something you should ask the previous owner about when it's been done last, just because you don't want to take a trip and have that snap and then you're stranded, because it's not a 5-minute fix. All right, and the sixth thing, the last one on the list, is the oil pan. This is gonna require a lot of work in case you do have an oil leak on that oil pan. You're either gonna have to drop the subframe or lift the motor, which is not an easy task alone, especially if you're just getting into cars. Normally on a vehicle, when you have an oil pan that's leaking, you just take off the 12, 16 bolts or whatever it is and drop the pan. In the Miata's case, the subframe actually covers a good portion of that oil pan, so it makes changing out that oil pan gasket a lot harder than it normally should be. You don't have enough room to angle it out, you're gonna have to drop something. So with those 6 things that you guys need to look out for when buying a Miata, just keep in mind that these are great cars reliability wise. If it looks beat up, you can definitely make it something out of your own. We did with this car for about $4,000 total. We completely changed the look, restored it to a beautiful condition on a budget. We'll show you what it looked like from before and after, and it really is rewarding working on your own car. For the car enthusiast that's looking to have a fun time during the weekends with the top down, this is an awesome car. These are just one of the cars that you're gonna have to drive first before you actually buy them. They're so much fun, you're gonna love your Miata. It's the reason why we bought 2 of them. All right, and if you did stay this long, I do wanna say one thing. The best way to find a Miata, you don't look on Facebook, you don't go on OfferUp, you actually go door to door, you drive around your city and you find a Miata. Go pull out $2,000 and get ready to leave some notes, because most of the time people aren't going to answer the door. But if they do, cash in hand, I want to buy your car. It's that easy. Usually when you bring cash and you catch them off guard like that, because they're just sitting at home probably eating popcorn watching a movie, you're going to catch them off guard to the point where they're just going to be like, oh, I might as well just sell it. There's $2,000 in this guy's hand. And that's what we did for both of these cars. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. We'd love to help you guys out. Shoot us a DM on Instagram, TikTok. Go check us out over there. Leave a like if you liked the video. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.